after school, and then I just met him. And I talked to him, and then he found it interesting. And by that time, I was having this struggle with leaving home and stuff. So I get to know him, and then he thought I was interesting, so he let me work for his think tank, Lion Rock Institute. But then I didn't fit there because in that think tank you have to write articles and you have to persuade people with like political ideas, and that's not what I was good at. So he introduced me to his friend's company, and I work until now. So that was a little story. Have you got other questions?
Sorry, an extension to my previous question. So, what's your advice for somebody with many interests? And like I, for example, I like programming, I like a lot of philosophy stuff, and all that are perceived by me as a career-oriented stuff. And then I have to spend, if I wanted to be good at something, I have to use, I don't know, 10,000 hours, and that's just not possible for all my interests. What's your advice for someone like that?
To be honest, it doesn't matter. When I was young, my parents were telling me, oh my god, you have so many interests, you're doing like 10,000 things in a week, and you're not really having one profession. That's actually fine, because for now, when I'm working as a programmer, the skills or the kind of interest I'm applying is not only just one skill, which is coding. Because as I mentioned earlier, you're building your own character. Just pick one thing that you want to start your work job with. Yeah, eventually, when you're playing by the project and the whole sort of situation, eventually you'll be able to apply other skills or your character, your personality in it. Of course, you cannot do 10 things in parallel in terms of career. You have to pick one, but that's your choice. But like I said, if you truly find a company or business that you are willing to participate in, eventually you can apply your other character and stuff. So focus on building your own character, rather than fixing on the job position or I want to be a manager, project manager in like 5 years. That's not what you should be focusing on. Find something that you like, pick one career to start with, eventually you'll be able to build your own character. That's more important than building your skills. Do we have more questions? Okay, I assume not then. Okay, we'll go to the second part. Okay, the second part we're going to talk about startups, innovations, and engineering in the real world. How many of you are you able to tell me in your school curriculum, are there projects where you're able to create a product, something like that? Yeah? A chatbot. So it's part of your school curriculum, design a chatbot for what kind of users?
Users for, I received this project from outside company, because some of the companies is very interested in develop chatbots with using some AI's product. For example, using Microsoft Rulers or just like Google APIs or AIs, but they're still studying how to use it.
Okay, cool. So that's part of your school curriculum. And after doing that chatbot, how confident are you if you have to design a real product in the future and turn it into a startup?
Actually, that makes me feel fine. I'm very interested in AIs. That makes me, maybe I will focus in AI product in my startup or in my future developments.
Okay, so now we can talk a bit about what is the real startup scene, because after all, when it comes to real business and like real money, venture capitalism and stuff, it will be a little bit different. So, simple question, why startups? Just bought my domain for my startup, so you can say I'm pretty serious with it. Startup exists to solve a problem. That's easy to understand. For example, Uber. You've got expensive taxis. Taxis refuse to take you as a passenger late at night. You call an Uber, or if you're traveling, you can't speak to the taxi drivers. You call an Uber, problem solved. But startup is more than just a problem. Of course, it's there to revolutionize some aspects of human living, but startup is more than just a solution. It's more than just an idea. Idea is not worth something. I mean, I can I can simply sit down one night and then think through some problems, give you some solutions, and have some ideas to start, but they're not worth anything. You can take it, and I won't mind. So there's this successful startup I just mentioned, which is Uber, right? Uber, one very special thing about it is that it's got a lot of funding throughout the time that it's been starting. At the same time, it's got a lot of attention as well, because when it was launching in different cities, it's got conflicts with the local laws and local regulations, with insurance. I'm sure you have heard of it, some of the news. But the thing with Uber is that not only is its solution, it's very useful to all the users across the globe, but also with all the execution and the game that they were playing, with all these sort of regulations, attentions in the media, and how they're changing the user experience, Uber X, and then they have got Uber Black and then Uber Pool, how they're structuring the whole user experience and how they're aligning the mentality of the users with them so that they get the support for all the users. That amount of effort to align users with them worth much more than the solution that they're giving, which is an application that you can call cars like taxis. It's worth much more, all the effort in terms of execution. So the thing with startup is you've got 99 problems. Funding definitely not one. You might not even need it if you've got a very good financial roadmap, you're making money throughout your way. But the thing is, a lot of people think that, oh, now I've got this idea. I'm going to go to several pitching nights, I'm going to try to find myself some investor, keep my money flowing in from investor, and I'm doing good. I can hire more people, expand like on a scale of 10 times in a year, then I'm doing good. But that's not the case, because after all, when you're doing a startup, it's like any other business. You need a good financial roadmap, you need a good user experience. Just focus on the real work. Even if you're doing startup, you might feel like, yeah, I'm cool. I've got this business card, it says I'm the CEO, I'm living in this hall of fame, I've got attention, I've got some investors, but that's not what you want to be focusing on. After all, you just want your product to be user-friendly, you want your users to like it, and you want it to be making money, rather than making money from the investors. That's not what you want. Okay, so another thing is, if you're a good programmer, does it mean that you're a good startuper? Unfortunately, no. Because, I mean, if you're a very, very good programmer, you can make a product that is like, it runs smoothly, bug-free, things like that. But more importantly, technical bits of a product maybe only takes up 30% of it. The rest of it is about the user journey, the user design, and how people can see the values of your product. And also, when you're a startup, you need very strong empathy of your market, and you have to know the market. You need to know what people want. After all, like I said, startups like any other businesses, there are things that you can control. For example, your product. But there are things that you can't. It doesn't mean that if you do something like Uber, you're going to be successful as Uber. There are things that you can't control, timing, locations, stuff like that. It's a game, basically, where you've got luck in there, and you have to play by, it's like you're going to be playing by the weather. You have to play by all these sort of external conditions. So it's more than just having a product that works technically very well. So what I want to say here is, startup is not a hall of fame. It's amazing that you've got creativity. It's amazing that you have these solutions to problems. But after all, once you're determined to do a startup, you have to be ready for failures. It's promised that you're going to fail. And don't just think about, okay, I'm going to pitch my ideas and I'm going to get all the attention from the investors. That's a good thing, but that's not what you should be focusing on. Really, think from the perspective of your user, do something that's genuine, and then have something solid in terms of your financial roadmap. Maybe that's a bit far ahead from what you guys are thinking about right now, but this is a world of startup where when you're going to be in the startup world, you're going to see a lot of people who are buzzing around, being very proud of themselves. Oh yeah, I've just got this idea, now I've got my cool team, we're just going to take tons of selfies and stories on Instagram, and then thinking I'm the coolest person, I just work 20 hours non-stop. Just be genuine, seriously. Okay, so I need you guys questions so that I can give you more ideas, because questions? Just anything about startups, like I said, doesn't have to be related to the slides. Just anything you want to know about my experience with startup or how I see them. I'll drink some water.
Well, do you know that the idea that you have for a startup is good enough to pursue? Leave everything else you're doing and start from?
Well, the first thing is, before you do a startup, like I said, it's like business, right? So you have to first know the market. For example, like the kind of startups that I'm doing right now with social media analytics, it's not like I don't know about social media and I just dive right into it. Okay, I think this solution is going to be fit for them. But it stems from your own experience in the market. So which is my partner Simon. And then he's been working in the PR field. And he knows there's this existing problem. And of course, when I first gave a solution, I mean, there are several directions that my solutions can develop. But it's kind of like A/B testing. You have to pursue one direction first, focus on that one, have a prototype, and then you can keep on testing the rest of them. So it's also like, yeah, when you do a startup, you have to make sure that you know the market as well. It's not like the startup doesn't snowball by itself where, oh, it looks cool and it just keeps snowballing, and then you have to know the market and push it to the users. A bit awkward. Okay. And we can talk about, you want me to continue style or we can talk about data science? Okay, so now the third part we're going to talk about data science and reputation management. Reputation management is what I'm doing right now. So basically using data analytics to help companies or famous figures to have a better strategy in terms of persuading the public or or getting themselves out of public relation disaster. So now first look at the data science emerging as this new cool thing that everybody is talking about. Oh, by the way, there are also more data science talks following mine, so I'm sure it's a cool thing because everybody's talking about it. Because there are more activities happening digitally these days. So of course there's like increasing volume, velocity with all the data that you can grab on the internet. That's why big data, right? Huge, big. So because companies are able to capture more data and be useful for businesses, basically allows them, I mean, data is like, you can make intelligence out of it, make knowledge out of it. It's a good opportunity to help you make more money. So then now we have, especially with cloud technology, you don't need to have this server running super hot in your room, and you can have cloud technologies to handle all the sort of machine learning algorithms that you want, with like good libraries supported by Google, scikit-learn, TensorFlow. Now data science become more accessible. Even just any one of you here, you can just start doing some sort of data science project already on your own. But what matters in data science? Is it the size of it? Or is it the fancy algorithm that's like an AI and you can detect images, it can tell you it's a cat, it can tell you it's a dog that makes it beautiful? Not entirely. There's one personal story of mine when I was doing my work. So when I first started in this data science, since we are doing like social media analytics, on Facebook, on Instagram, they've got a lot of pictures, they've got a lot of tags, so I thought, I'll just dig into this textual analysis and make cool, fancy algorithm out of it. I'm able to tell you this piece of text belongs to the category of politics, this piece of text belongs to the user being unhappy, things like that. So I make fancy stuff out of it. I even try to predict like whether a post is gonna go viral, what is the like of the post, the range of the likes of the post after 1 hour. So that I might just make fancy things out of it. Well then after maybe like half a year to 8 months, nothing that I made got sold to the client. So nothing, basically 8 months of my effort into making all this fancy stuff, none of it made me any money. The problem that I had was that I was just thinking about all the data that I have and the way that I can play with it and the way that I can make fancy things with it. But after all, the value of data science is to be useful, you know? You can make, I mean, it's like any other science, like physics, like chemistry. If you make a sort of medication that's not useful, nobody is going to use it anyway. It's not going to get sold. What's the point of it? Even if you're in physics or in other engineering, you prove a sort of theory, but then it's not even useful to the public, your research is not going to get published on the news. So when it comes to data science, just bear in mind that don't worry about being fancy. You know, just first find the problem that you want to solve and then go for it, make something valuable. A bit of explanation here. So in terms of data science, that's a very generic structure actually. So you start from data, and then you acquire information out of it. If it's text, then you do like extract concept from the text. And then you make anticipation. Anticipation basically means prediction. But more than just prediction from the algorithm, but also like how you look at the statistics and your model and then make anticipation out of it. The reason why there's a yellow arrow here is that usually when you reach to that point, from my own experience, it's a point where you can't go higher by yourself. It's not like you can play solo and just go all the way from data to like strategy, because when you reach the point of anticipation from the data, you actually need knowledge of the market. You need to work with your team to get to the level of strategy. So usually when it comes to a lot of businesses, sure, they have a great team of data scientists, they have a great team of people who knows all about AI, fancy stuff that you can imagine, but that doesn't mean they're going to succeed, because if they can't work together with other departments, if they can't work together with, you know, if it's like a big data marketing strategy, if they can't work with marketing people, if they can't communicate, nothing is going to turn into a strategy. It's just going to be a bunch of algorithms just stuck in your code base and you're not going to make use of it. So identifying the problem, identifying the strategy, the direction of the strategy that you want to have, and then literally work with people that know the knowledge of the market or the background knowledge of the strategy that you want to make. And then eventually what's even more valuable than having prediction would be action. So you always want to make sure any sort of data science or data analytics is we eventually answer your question with an actionable answer. And then it turns into a strategy. Having said that, with my experience of failing in making useful algorithms for my work, that's why, so then now for my business, I'm working with Simon Lee, who is the PR advisor, and I am his little IT consultant, that we are doing data analytics for public relations agencies, departments, corporations, and businesses. So one thing to note, if you really want a career in data science, don't just see it as a fancy game with numbers. See it as a complete thing of technology that can serve businesses. If you want to excel in data science, one thing that you might want to try doing is, when you move from job to job, pick some businesses that are similar, because it will benefit you when you both know the knowledge of a market and the knowledge of data. So this is what I'm doing right now: social listening, turning social media data into useful strategy for public relations. A little bit of background knowledge of my business. Ages ago, maybe I wasn't even born. Yeah. Ages ago, there was only like print media. So newspaper that you get when you're on your way to work. It was easy for companies to manipulate opinions, because basically they just need to negotiate with the local media and they can publish their stories and headlines. It was easy to influence the public. There's no need for data whatsoever. But when it comes to the media 1.0, when people start to have their own websites, when people are able to just go on Google or Yahoo and to search stuff, then we have SEO. So all the companies are fighting to have their company website to be on the top search results. But then, these days, is SEO still very efficient? Maybe not as it is as before, because now we have like Twitter, now we have like, I don't know if Tumblr is still very popular, I guess not, and Facebook and Instagram. Everybody is able to be an opinion leader. You don't need to go to a media and say, hey, I want to publish a story. You can just go home and click a button and boom, and your story is out. Everybody has the potential to be the opinion leader. And because of that, all the opinions on the internet are like very fragmented. It spreads very fast, it goes viral easily, and noisy and very dynamic. There's not only just one direction for the opinions anymore as it is before. Now we've got several, maybe like thousands of discussions in a day that matter to different businesses. And the way, I mean, how are you able to look at all these issues with your naked eyes anymore? You know you can't, because there's too many of them. So that's why we need data-driven strategy for marketing or for reputation management. And so the goal of socialism is to provide a company this piece of technology with data analytics where it helps them to see much clearer of the market that they're looking at. With all the opinions out there, what should be, so we can help them to be mindful of the strategy that they're making with all these intelligence in mind. We're just going to briefly go through my services. So we have 24/7 real-time monitoring with all the live data streaming and from Facebook especially. And we use that to target the golden window when we have like outlier detection for posts that are like about to go viral, so that these businesses can target opportunities to make moves or to fix their reputation by replying to comments or stuff like that. And we also use all the historical data to make predictions in terms of when they want to sketch a strategy. We can help them anticipate what's going to come out of it, so they can know the big picture of all the opinions out there better, and they can act more mindful rather than just saying random things on the internet and get themselves into troubles. Just one thing, right? Just help them to stay on top of the world. But like I said, all of that doesn't work if I'm just doing all the analytics by myself. I was doing statistic, textual analysis, time series prediction, basically all the three main categories that I'm doing at work. But like I said, if I really need to help my clients stay on top of the world, I can't just give them like stacks of graphs or like stacks of numbers, then to help them plan for it. Remember the pyramid that I showed you? When it comes to anticipation and making actions, eventually to strategy, we need PR consulting. So I'm working with Simon a lot closely, especially on all the results from my models, in order to help the client predict, make the strategy that they need. So me, myself, eventually I'm also spending a lot of effort learning about public relations and marketing as well. So the core values of socialism to companies is that we help them to monitor the market with high relevance and high recency in terms of time, so everything comes in speed. And then also we strike a good balance between data analytics and instinct. There's no way at this moment you can replace PR strategy all by computers. After all, you need somebody that knows the market and he's got the instinct to help you with the strategy, what you can say to the public. So one thing to note after this part is that big data is not your big ego. You can't be this great data scientist and then you think that you can make all the strategy in the world because you have all the data available. It's not how it works. Nor it's because you're this cool data scientist, you can just go buzz around and then tell people, oh yeah, I'm super cool and stuff. After all, you have to just work with the people and pick a business that you know, or work with people who have very much a lot of experience in that market in order for your data science to be something that is useful and valuable. So that's a note for you. And the slide stop here. The reason for that is I think after my talk, you also have several other talks about data science, cryptocurrency, other web development that will give you a bit more technical knowledge. But I also want to spend a little time to talk to you about my personal story, or in case if you've got any questions, we have like around 10 minutes left for questions about my story. So I can tell you a bit more about how I started my career and all the difficulties I had. So after I left school when I was 17, 18, when I first started working, it was horrible. I mean, in Hong Kong, people just trust certificates so much. When you don't have one, they just don't listen to you, or they try to rip you off. Yeah, just give you a low price because you don't have a degree or stuff like that. But to be honest, when my company was also hiring people, it was very difficult. Yeah, sure, the kids was doing like all the grade 8s and stuff, but without them being able to be this person that can adapt to things dynamically, we just fire them like after 2 months. Because it doesn't work, especially in fields like ours, where it's like new sort of industry. It doesn't work if your mind is stuck like a textbook. You have to, I mean, this project we are trying to fix the reputation of some transportation. This project is about this rich guy who trying to fix his reputation. The two projects itself, the nature can vary a lot. All you can keep in your mind is just principles and the way that you do things. I mean, it doesn't work if you try to memorize things from books and then start talking to the clients with the theories. What should I talk about in terms of my story? Does anyone of you actually know my story more? You know, if today I would have like a wireless mic, I would be passing the mic already. You should be lucky that I don't have a wireless mic. And also another thing that I really want to share with you guys about character building. So like I assume most of you are in IT field. And there's one thing that I really enjoy when I'm doing IT is that you heard in the first video, me myself, I was suffering from like Asperger when I was young. The thing with that is it gives me like a very low empathy level. If I have to be a salesperson, I would totally suck at it. If I have to be a politician that wants to persuade people or doing lobbying, I'll totally suck at it. I can't really understand people's intention when they talk to me. But then one good thing about this thing is it gives me very much like a gifted logical thinking than other people. And I thought, I really enjoy doing logical thinking and problem solving. It makes me happy, it fits my own character. So I mentioned about character building. Really, when you want to have a fruitful career, when you want to have a career that you're going to enjoy and you're not going to hate all your Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and wait until Friday, you should find one that fits your own character. Personalities don't matter, just build this career character where it suits you, because in this world we have to embrace diversity now. We are not in the 80s and 70s, we are not making like, we are not doing all the same stuff in the factory anymore. In this world we need individuality, we need characters who are able to play a unique role. So I think more important for you when you're in university is not about excelling at your grades. Maybe you should try not to stress out too much about it. Use your time when you're in a project, rather than focusing on how you can make the greatest presentation out of the class, think about your role when you're in a team. What kind of role are you playing when you're in a class? What kind of character are you? What character makes you feel comfortable? Because all these questions that you're going through as you're in university, as you're in your first job, is going to matter much more than your grades. If you know who you are and the kind of character that makes you unique, you have a much better career than having all the grades A and being first on graduate.
Has your Asperger's condition ever prevented you from communicating efficiently with your team?
That's actually a good question, because at the beginning, when I started working, especially when I was in school as well, I wasn't aware what this condition did to me. So of course I was having a huge problem with my classmates. I mean, the way I talk was very different. The way I react to things was very different. Because, you know, sometimes there are occasions where it triggers my emotions big, like big emotions melt down. For example, if some of my routines has changed, if some of my plans has changed, I just go nuts. But I mean, other students don't have that problem. So I was very different from them, and it prevented me a lot. And that's actually why I think I would be a good example for you guys to build your own character and learn through it. I'm sure for you guys, communicating would be easier than for me. But the thing is, pick something that fits your character. I mean, I have no problem with IT. I talk to computers, it's not going to judge me. I mean, of course I need to talk to my teammates, but when you have respect for your own character, people would learn to communicate to you. Because they know that they know your value in the company. They're willing to accept you and then talk to you. And I mean, I do spend a lot of effort trying to communicate to people as well, and going through all the sort of different staff events and trying to meet people, trying to learn the way that they talk. It takes effort. But I think one good thing about me is that ever since with this Asperger thing, it's been obvious to me about what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. And so that's why I picked a field that fits my character and it makes me feel comfortable and I can do better at it. So don't really one thing I also want to say is standardized tests are not for standard people. If you want to be somebody that makes a history, you have to build a role that is yourself. So that's why all the time that you're growing up, the time that you're at your work, really what's more important for you is to know your role in industry, your role in the society, and your character, rather than just focusing on the skill. It's a lot more useful. Have we got other questions?
Can I ask another one?
Yeah, go for it. I like it.
Yeah. So in the timeline we have print media, and then we have social media, internet, and coming up we have right now we have big data and IoT and all that, and then we have the cryptocurrencies. What comes next? In your opinion, what comes next?
No, I meant that was the timeline of today's talk.
Oh no, I mean the world happenings, in terms of the technology innovation, all that printing stuff, and then the internet, and then now we are revolutionizing our money. So what comes next in your opinion?
To be honest, I don't really know, because I don't want to bullshit you about this is what I see is gonna happen, because I don't actually really know. But I mean, like I said, that's why you can't like you said, all these sort of things are happening. For example, cryptocurrencies is an interesting concept, and maybe companies or businesses are revolutionizing the way that they're doing transactions by cryptocurrency, building their own coins and stuff. I mean, you don't learn that in school, do you? So that's actually a very good example. The thing with you being a good learner is that if one day you wake up and then you saw on Hackers News, there's this new cryptocurrency, I think there's one new cryptocurrency called IOTA as well. It's even newer than the blockchain technology. It's using a technology called Tango. And the thing is, one day I just wake up and I see this and I'm like, interesting. It's got this ICO. What should I do with it? Should I invest in it? Should I do something with it? Build my own application with it? If you're a good learner, well, I'm not yet there, but I'm on my way there. If I'm a good learner, the beautiful with it is that you can just start playing with this thing by yourself. Because everything just comes from yourself, and nobody from school is going to teach you how to deal with this new technology called Tango and stuff. So, to be a good learner is useful. For example, in this case of cryptocurrencies, because new things are popping up every single day. When you have time in university, really make use of your time. Try to do little projects on your own. So I also want to say, to wrap up the talk, at the end, like I told you, there are not going to be a lot of technical knowledge that you can get from my talk, because I don't know. But the thing is, right now, if you're willing to, you can start by discovering a small problem in your real life situation that you really know about it. Try to build a small project, because when you are when you're learning by problem-oriented, all the experience that you get from solving through the whole project, you will have much more unforgettable experience. It's much better than all the grades on your CV. It's much better than all your internship, because it really gives you real experience and real feeling on what it is like doing the project. So at the end, I'm gonna give you this slide. But if you're willing to, you can start finding a problem, and on your way, if you want to ask me questions, if you want to discuss with me, feel free to add me, jot down my email and stuff when you're doing your mini project. Yeah, now is a good time to take notes. Yeah, take some pictures of me and send me on Facebook as well. I like that. Yes?
Do you think Hong Kong is a good place to start up? And also, if we have any idea about that project, so where can you get more resources or support for your project?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question first. If Hong Kong is a good place for startup, I mean, yes and no. I mean, in the sense that Hong Kong is a free market. I mean, in terms of external conditions, starting up your own company, having a company address, bank account, it's quite easy. But the thing with Hong Kong is Hong Kong has got this atmosphere where all of it is about the fame. All of it is about being famous and feeling good about yourself, which is like not a good mentality for a startup, actually. I mean, when you're in the startup field, and you go to different sort of startup events, you see a lot of people just, their ego is like humongous, just because their startup is doing well at this moment. But when you do a startup, you want to know that it's going to be there for at least 10 years, not just like 1 year with all the investors coming in. So Hong Kong is bad in terms of mentality, and also in terms of like government support. I think you might not, there's not such a big need for government to invest in all the projects, but I guess all the sort of facility with renting offices and stuff would be useful if the government can provide it as well. But I don't think in terms of investment, it's that important for a startup at the very beginning. Okay, and then your second question is, I think one, if you've got a startup, if you've got a startup idea, it's not important to pitch it at the very beginning, because if like invested people start talking to you, it might drift your direction away. After all, when you have a very good startup idea, you expect to get negative opinions in the beginning. It will be good if you can start going to like different sort of startup events, just talking through about it, think through all the questions. There are also small businesses in Hong Kong doing like accelerators for startup programs, but you have to be careful with some of them, because some of them are more like just basically selling ideas and then making the investors happy, maybe not doing a good job for you. But like I said, if you meet some people, accelerators or sort of startup mentors, that you know that they're genuine. It's important to see that they're being genuine and like very critical with your startup, and seeing the importance of your startup's financial roadmap like a high priority. That may be good to consider as well. Yeah, but another thing with co-working space is that I don't necessarily recommend co-working space. It's expensive, and to be honest, the network there doesn't really give you like a big boost. But yeah, but some offices in industrial buildings are also cheap to rent, so you might also want to look into that as well if you've got some ideas. Yeah. Do I have other questions, or any stuff that you just want to ask? Doesn't have to be related to my presentation, anything. Random questions, even? Okay, so I guess that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for all of your attentions. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. And we're gonna have lunch. After lunch, we'll have a talk conducted by Microsoft Hong Kong, which gives us a glimpse of data science and how to kickstart your own cloud career by Miss Daisy back in lecture theater 17. See you all at 2:30 sharp.